Hi, good evening. I'm Janessa Finley with Stronger Together and Fiercely Radiant Soul. This evening, we are going to jump into the pain of trauma because trauma hurts, literally. Trauma hurts deeply. And I want to share with you some of why that is so. As you jump on, feel free to say hello. I'm not sure my comments are working, and I also don't have you pulled up on my phone yet, but I will. I'll take a moment and do that. I hope you're all having a wonderful week and a wonderful evening. It is a bit chilly out there, and also my dog has been insisting it's time for her walk. So hopefully you won't have to deal with her coming in here and howling and yelling at me, but if you do, that's why. All right. So if you have any questions, drop them in the chat, even if you're watching it on replay, and I will come back and make sure I answer them. I don't know what's going on with that. Okay, so trauma and pain. Rejection, we are talking about rejection trauma here this month in February as we all focus on the month of love. And one of the things that interferes with our ability to both give and receive love is for sure those rejection traumas we've experienced along the way. Specifically with rejection trauma, some fMRI scans and studies show the same areas of the brain become activated when we experience rejection as when we experience pain. And this is part of the reason that that rejection trauma, but also trauma in general, is so painful to us. But when looking at physical pain, let's tap into your own experience. And you can test for yourself whether or not this is true for you. So I want you to think of a time with deep rejection. It, like we talked about in the last video, it could be with family, it could be with friends, it could be with, of course, a significant other, loved one. I want you to reflect on a time when you were rejected, and then I want you to, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the most extreme, just identify for yourself how intense that pain is as you reflect on that memory. For me, when I first did this, my pain level with reflecting on a rejection trauma was somewhere up around a 7, approximately. And now I just want you to reflect on a time when you had physical pain. And maybe not labor for my mamas out there, but a different time. I know when I broke my wrist, when I think back to that, so it's the memory as well. It's not the pain that you felt at the time, but it's the memory right now as you access it. How painful is it for you on a scale of 1 to 10? For me, when I initially walked through this and accessed that memory, breaking my wrist, it was down around a 3. So it was significantly less than that rejection trauma. This is why carrying this, these traumas and energy around with us really interferes with us being able to enjoy life and be who we were designed to be and be authentic and show up for people the way that we want to. So what happens in our brains specifically? And I have a more in-depth video on my Fiercely Radiant Soul page. So if you are wanting more information about this topic specifically, drop a comment below and I will tag you in that other video where I really get into this more deeply. But the effects on trauma of the brain, I'm not going to get into the specifics of the study, but a study was done that found that trauma, it increases the limbic area in the brain, and that area of the brain controls our emotions, which means when we think about trauma, the emotional area of our brain fires faster, so then we feel more emotions. There's more emotions connected to trauma for us than normal memories. Additionally, trauma decreases the Broca area in the brain, which controls or influences our ability to speak. When working with people who are traumatized or are processing through old traumas, their ability to find words to explain can be very challenging. They may not be able to articulate well or even find the words to really describe what it is that they experienced. And this is exactly why, because your brain activity with trauma, it changes. And lastly, the Brodmann's area, which is a part of the occipital lobe, if I remember correctly, which is back here. So one of the interventions we utilize a lot is holding the frontal lobe and occipital lobe. So the Brodmann area, is, I believe, is housed in the occipital lobe, and the activity in that lobe increases, or in that area increases with trauma as well. And that area specifically has to deal with the visual cortex. Now, we know when we are in trauma, we often get very tunnel visioned, we can't process as much information. And the other thing the study showed was it did not matter when someone was actively in trauma or recalling trauma, the effects that it has on the brain, thus the emotions, the body, etc., was the exact same. So we cannot differentiate when we access a memory of trauma that is not in present time. Very interesting. So this is also why trauma hurts so stinking bad, because as we carry forward in life, dragging it along with us, we never actually detach from the pain and the effects that trauma has on us until we utilize some tools, techniques, treatment of some sort to release the trauma so that we don't have to carry those effects around with us. So we never want to leave you hanging. I had you reflect at the beginning of this on trauma memories, and I don't want to leave you hanging in that space. So I will, at the end of this, drop the tapping into the comments, and you can process whatever memory and emotions came up for you. Additionally, SJ will be on at 8 o'clock, so you can jump in, and she is doing trauma release, so perfect timing. If anything that came up as you watch this was a trigger for you, do not hang out in that discomfort. Please join SJ or use some of those self tools that you have available to you, such as the video I'll leave in the comments, so that you are not sitting in any of that discomfort, because as explained in this video, it is very real when we reflect on trauma, think about trauma, we do relive it. So I hope this has been informational and can help you understand people around you, also understand yourself, have some compassion for yourself and for others. We never truly know what they're going through. And, trauma triggers can be so minuscule. One for me that took me a while to even realize was after my dad was in a car accident, I was, stuck at work and I wasn't able to leave right away. And now I find myself, if my car gets parked in, it makes me a little uncomfortable. But there was a point in time when that was full out trauma response. Like I was crabby and cranky and stressed out about the fact that my car was parked in. Now it's just something I'm cautious of because I addressed it. That's a pretty minute thing to have occur, right? You pull into someone's driveway, you park, you would never suspect that you would be triggering trauma for someone. So, again, I hope that this information helps you have more understanding with the humans around you. And I'm sure I will be back here next week to talk to you about rejection trauma internally and how we begin to reject ourselves when we experience those rejection traumas and don't process through them. Have a good evening and make sure you process those trauma memories you brought up this evening in this video.